Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Kansas City.
Royals baseball from Cleveland for the last time in 2016, and maybe that's a good thing. Royals baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the ballpark with Rex Hudler. I'm Ryan Lefevre. Joel Goldberg and Jeff Montgomery are coming up in just a little bit. Last night when the Indians won, that's the 11th time in the last 13 years that they've had a winning series against the Royals, and they have been extremely tough on the Royals here at Progressive Field.
They sure have. They have that mojo, that winning edge right now, and the Royals want to get a win here before they head out of town. It's been a difficult year for the Royals in certain spots, especially here. You mentioned it. This team has mojo. They know what it's like to win games. They've won more games in walk-off fashion here in this park than any other team in the league. And so it's been impressive, and our guys just got to keep their heads up and keep grinding and keep attacking. There's no giving up by the Royals.
That's our Academy Sports and Outdoors leaderboard. On the bright side, it's another start for Jason Vargas as he builds up for 2017. Joel and Monty are back with that after this.
In Cleveland, and they'll hope for smoother sailing, if you will. Joel Goldberg, Royals Hall of Famer Jeff Montgomery, second start of the year for Jason Vargas. What'd you see in number one?
Well, I thought the really important part to me was if you watch Jason Vargas pitch, he looked exactly like the Jason Vargas we saw pitch over the last couple of years for Royals. That's a great sign for the Royals. It's a great sign for Jason Vargas. Tells me that he's fine health-wise. I love the mechanics and the display of pitches. Again, exactly what we're accustomed to seeing from Vargas.
3 innings, about 45 pitches was the limit in his return from Tommy John. How about in his second start tonight?
I hate putting a hard number on guys. You know, he's going to let us know by the way he's throwing the ball, and the opposing hitters are going to let us know too. But it's going to be somewhere in the 70 pitch range. It could be, you know, it could be anywhere from 65 to 75. It could be 4 to 5 innings. Who knows? So, you know, and that all being said, we're still going to do what we got to do to win the game. So if he's got to come out sooner, or he'll come out sooner, or if we got to, give him an extra 5 pitches, get through an inning, or finish it at bat, we will.
And of course, run support would help, and perhaps Chesler Cuthbert can provide some assistance. Mr. Doubles, more on that next. Cleveland, where Chesler Cuthbert hit a double last night. It was young Jose Ramirez stealing the show with 3 doubles, but for Chesler, number 28 on the season, most doubles by a Royals rookie in a season since Alex Gordon had 36 of them back in 2007. His 19 doubles since the All-Star break, tied for 3rd in the American League. He has put up excellent numbers against Cleveland this season. And back to those 28 doubles, that is the 2nd most of any rookie in baseball, behind Corey Seager of the Dodgers. Royals look to salvage this series and escape with a win. First pitch coming up next.
Yeah, getting ready for tonight's game, even though it's been a tough go against the Indians. Just 5-10 against Cleveland this year. Another great night. Maybe the 3 best days I've ever experienced in Cleveland. I mean, there's no strong wind. It hasn't been cold. It hasn't been hot. There's been no threat of rain.
I'm right with you. The only thing's missing is a Royals W. I get that tonight.
Tough to come by at Progressive Field. The Royals have lost 7 straight games here, and they scored just 5 runs in their last 5 games. They had the lead last night after getting 2 two-out runs against Corey Kluber in the 3rd inning. They got another run in the 9th, but the Indians took game 2 4-3. They won the first 2 games of the series by 1 run. Mike Clevenger out of the Angels organization came to Cleveland in a trade for Vinny Pistano. And Clevenger is making just his 9th start of the year and 15th appearance at the big league level.
Oh, he's got a nice fastball. You can tell by his strikeouts. It's almost even strikeouts to innings pitched. But you know, tonight could be a heavy bullpen night for both teams. The reason I say that is Clevenger seems like when he hits that 75 pitch mark, if he goes that far, the wheels fall off. Teams are almost hitting 400 or 500 off of him. 76 pitches plus. And Vargas, we all know he's going to throw about 70. So we could see a lot of bullpen here tonight.
And he pitches exclusively out of the stretch, Clevenger does, and he is a high energy, high octane. He misses outside 2-1. You can see that him trying to channel some of that injury in between pitches. Pulled foul off the first base line. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, I'll show you his pitch breakdown. Fastballs anywhere from 92 to 94. Yeah, average about 93. Slider, change, curve. You can see at fastball he likes to use it, and that's a pitch that the Royals like to jump on. Let's see if Dyson can lead off the game like he's been doing the last couple. He started base hit.
Back to Clevenger, who makes a good play. 1 out. Not a lot of appearances this year, but our Toyota League leaders will show you that he has not been very efficient. Most pitches per inning in the American League with at least 8 starts. And Clevenger is 5th on that list and only averaging about 4 innings per start. So that's to your point, Hud, with the Indians bullpen is probably going to be heavily involved tonight.
Well, you'd hope our Royals could get him out of there sooner. We'll have to see. Nobody on the Royals has faced him before.
Brandon Geyer is in right field tonight. He gets Merrifield, and there are 2 down.
And typically when you're facing a guy like him, you want to take as many pitches as you can. Coco Crisp, 9th start as an Indian out there in left. He's a good player. He's a veteran. Davis, Geyer, different outfield with the lefty Vargas pitching.
Eric Hosmer with 2 outs, and he takes a fastball high and tight.
He's got a lot of quirks, does Clevenger. You see that? He bounces that front lead foot. He bounces it once, twice, 3 times. And a lot of deception in that delivery. Big arm swing. But you know, Mickey Callaway, their pitching coach before the game, was telling me about him. When they got him, they sent him down to the minors and kind of reworked his delivery. You know, they didn't change a lot, but they changed his arm swing. His lead arm was starting low, and they wanted him to get it a little bit higher, so he's had some more deception. So he's a little bit higher with his arm swing. They brought his arm angle up a little bit. He's still a little bit more higher 3/4 arm slot. But he's a very coachable young man, and they've made him one of their starters. So good deal for the Indians to get him. There's Mickey. Great guy. You know, wide open. Shares anything with you about his teams. There's pitchers and bullpen guys, starters. He's always a guy to go to. He's got a lot of information for you. He helps out a lot. telling me that Clevenger was their pitcher of the year last year in their organization. So he's earned his spot.
Big rip by Hosmer, 3-2. Well, he's amped up on the mound. There's no doubt about that. I mean, the way he rocks back and forth, he looks like he's plugged into an electric socket.
Yeah. That hair going.
A smash to first. Santana backhands. Clevenger kicks the bag. And the Royals are down in order in the first. Head to Detroit for a 3-game series. Done with the road portion of the 2016 regular season. And the Royals so far have pitched the Indians well. Think about the Indians and you begin with pitching, but they have a dangerous offense. And even though the Indians have won the first 2 games of the series, the Royals have held them to just a total of 6 runs. And now they face Jason Vargas, who pitched well on Saturday in an abbreviated start against the White Sox. The Royals wanted to keep him around 45 pitches. He ended up throwing 52. Cut on and missed, and the changeup from Vargas to Rajai Davis. Vargas allowed a run in the first inning and then finished by setting down 8 of the last 9 White Sox hitters. And again, Davis chasing a pitch up and away, and it's 0-2.
Vargas hasn't pitched a lot. We talked about that, but he does have 12 career starts versus the Tribe. And what we do know is he's got a winning record, 6-3 with a 4.70 ERA. Like his tempo, always have. He's a quick worker. Keeps the defense on his toes, and he's got a strikeout. Beautiful. Using that deceptive angle with a above the belt action. Looks good to the hitter, but you're missing it. Now Vargas, his secondary pitches are his changeup and curve. And his changeup is his best pitch. Really sells it well. He's got good arm speed. That's what the hitters look at. They look at his arm speed. If he slows it down with a changeup, they're easier to hit, but he's a master at it. And he's going good. He's staying on the corners with his fastball, and then he works that high 2-strike pitch, and then he'll break it off with a breaker. And it really makes that 86 to 88 mile-an-hour fastball looks more like it's in the low 90s when he's executing his secondary pitches.
Kipnis tied up and fouls it away.
The Indians versus left-handed pitching this year is at 272 average. That's good for 4th best in the league. 40 homers.
pitch was down, just off the ground and into the seats in right field. Jason Kipnis golfs one to right for his 23rd home run of the year.
Yeah, now, look, you got to give Kipnis some credit for that. That ball was down where Vargas wanted it, and he recognized it. Look how he lowered his back leg. See that? He was able to drop his back leg, get down there, and then get it way out in front and golf it out of there. Nice swing. That's his 7th against left-handed pitchers out of his 23.
Hey, you're talking about how the Indians have been good as a team against lefties. Jason Kipnis has really improved against lefties this year. Now the Royals will try to keep Francisco Lindor down. He is hitting under 100 in the last week and a half. And he's without a base hit in his last 16 at-bats. Strike over the outside, 2-1.
Well, this is his first full season of playing every day, and he's the only guy on the Tribe that's playing all 151 games, or 151 tonight. So he's could be experiencing a little bit of fatigue, which is what a lot of guys are going through. You know, he leads the Tribe in plate appearances and at bats. So I would imagine some fatigue has something to do with it. But you know, Terry Francona, having been to the big dance before a few times, he'll know when to rest him. He'll pick his spots and rest him probably sometime early next week, and then get him back in there for the last 3 games of the season against the Royals, get his timing back.
Lindor is on with a 1-out walk.
Royals defense sponsored by Ford. Chesler Cuthbert, 115 start. Now he's experiencing a lot of that too. That's 3rd most among all rookies. He's experiencing what it's like in September, and I talked to him before the game about that. He says, you know what, it's a long season, there's no doubt about it. It's extra work that I'm not used to having, but my team energizes me and I'm good to go. So he wouldn't admit that he's getting tired, and most guys aren't going to. But having been through that first major league season, full year, where September is a big month for you, extra load, it'll drain on you.
Well, it's not the macho thing to say, you know, I'm wearing down and I'm tired, and you probably have to play a mental game with yourself, right? You can't admit to yourself that you're tired, even if you are.
You're exactly right.
Napoli fouls it back. Napoli, like Lindor, is struggling at the moment. Like Lindor, hitless in his last 16 at-bats. He has struck out 10 times in his last 16 at-bats, and has 9 hits this entire month.
Pretty good numbers career against Vargas.
Two and two. Changeup struck him out.
Beauty.
Second strikeout in the inning for Vargas.
Oh, was that nice.
Royals have bumped up his projected pitch count tonight. It was at 45 Saturday against the White Sox, right around 45, and tonight somewhere between 60 and 70 pitches. 2 down, and now Carlos Santana with Lindor at first base. Lindor took off on first movement, and that's a tough one for Salvador Perez, even with a perfect throw. So Lindor is at second base with 2 down.
Yep, got a great jump off of Vargas. Saw a decent throw. Made it close. Merrifield with a good tag. Good hard tag. I'd like to see guys put that tag on a guy. Let him know he was tagged. Pop it on him.
Over the inside, 1-1 on Santana.
You know, there's times pickoff plays at first base when the pitcher throws over. You know, some guys, some first basemen would slap that tag on you with that ball in the pocket of that glove and hit you in the elbow, and you know, it's like, that hurt. Okay, well, I can play that game too. Put it on him.
Santana has had a big series, 5 out of 9, double, home run, 2 driven in. Big slow curve, 72 miles an hour, 2-2.
It's going to be a big pitch for Vargas against these righties. He's got to be able to show him that. That big curve kind of gets him off the fastball, and then the changeup is the sneaky one he puts down low and away on him. Just want to make sure that breaking ball finishes off below the knees.
Just nicked it foul. We've got Salvi on the foot, the ankle.
Tough as nails. Got him on that knee, right above him. Big, strong, durable, athletic. Takes about 3 or 4 of those a game.
That one got him in 2 different places. It's only the first inning.
Yeah. He's already breathing heavy. I'm going to take those deep breaths and exhale. Let that pain go with it.
Chop to third and foul as it got Santana.
Let's see, was that a big toe shot? Ooh, man, that's just top of the foot. That's, man, that hurts. That padding don't go out there, although he might get a little extension that goes over the top of the laces. That hurt.
Trouble putting any weight on that leg.
And you know, it depends on your pain tolerance. Some guys can't, you know, have a hard time with it. Some other guys can mask it. But that's what it depends on. I mean, that ball, he made solid contact on the laces at the top of that foot. I don't know if he's going to be able to continue. Now watch where the ball goes. Oh, right off of that bone, square, and then bounces out to the pitcher.
It's so frustrating because a hitter does it to himself. And you mentioned the padding that he has. I mean, he had padding everywhere but that spot.
Tito put the helmet on backwards. Francona's had many of those off of his foot. He was a left-handed hitter. He knows what that feels like. A lot of people don't remember Francona's career. He was a good baseball player. I mean, had a great amateur. He was a Golden Spikes Award winner. You know, he played 6-7 years in the majors.
It's the college baseball equivalent of the Heisman Trophy.
That's right.
Pretty good rip. Still 2-2. He's still hobbling around on that left foot.
Fortunately, the bone on that shot, it won't swell. It'll just be a bone bruise because there's no meat around it. Difficult part is it's hard to get blood flow in that area to heal.
Another foul ball. He's fouled off 5 straight.
It's not what Vargas wants, especially on a pitch count. Next pitch, 27.
It into right center field. The 9th pitch of the at-bat. And that foot looks pretty good right now as he Cruises into second base with an RBI double, and the Indians have 2 in the first.
He unloaded on that heater. It just stayed up. It was on the outer half, but he's able to reach out and just hit it right where it was pitched. Nice job cutting it off before it gets to the wall, but you can see now when he sees that gapper, he's going to take off and show no limping.
Seven doubles to go along with a career high 33 home runs this year, Carlos Santana. And now he's out there for Jose Ramirez. Strike on a delayed call by Paul Emmel. Kia puts us in the driver's seat, and Jose Ramirez has hit in 5 straight, and he's in the top 4 in the American League, hitting with runners in scoring position. Vargas jumps ahead, no balls and 2 strikes. And he's been a tough out in this series. 4 out of 6 with 3 doubles and 2 walks. Fouled away again. 30 pitches for Vargas in the first inning.
His offense was awfully impressive last night, but the play he made late, a backhand play on Billy Burns, was really special. That saved a huge rally and possibly saved him the game.
To center field and right at Dyson, and that's the inning. 31 pitches, and the Indians come up with 2 runs, 2 extra base hits, and a walk. Jason Kipnis and a double from Carlos Santana. Almost no wind at all, which is rare here. The weather has been absolutely perfect. Mike Clevenger facing the Royals for the first time. Set down Dyson, Merrifield, and Hosmer in order. And now gets Morales, Perez, and Gordon. Inside to Morales, who's driven in 1 in this series. Hard hit, and Lindor, the shortstop, over on the right side of the infield. takes care of Morales. One down. Here comes Salvi, and here comes Joel.
And Salvi tying a career high with his 21st home run last night, but he had never hit one quite like this. He told me he was sure it was a double off of the wall until it actually went over. And checking with StatCast, that was the 3rd highest home run hit in baseball this year, a launch angle of 45.5 degrees. The highest was Mark Teixeira.
How do they know that?
They measure everything. You know how that works, right? Well, no, you really don't know. Neither do I. But Mark Teixeira hit a ball, launch angle 47.8 degrees. It only went 331 feet. Adam Jones had the next one. And then Salvi's, which did go 381 feet. So I was joking with Salvi about where that water wouldn't be a home run. He was laughing, and he said, well, in Boston last night, that probably hits the cars across the street. He said, in Houston, I hit the train with that shot. In Tampa, I'm hitting the catwalks. In Minnesota, second deck. And in Kansas City, he said, left fielder's catching that one. So that was a pretty big shot. And should also point out that Salvi getting back-to-back 20 home run seasons is in some pretty elite company for catchers. And we'll take a look at that in our Kubota power rankings, because you don't see a lot of power hitting catchers nowadays. But for Salvi, 2 straight years of 20 home runs, and he's in some good company in terms of that.
That he is one of 6 catchers since 2000 with 20+ home run seasons in consecutive years. Over the outside. Salvi takes a called strike, and that's Clevenger's first. So there you go. Since 2000, these are catchers with consecutive 20 home run seasons.
It's awesome.
Now, some of those guys, like Piazza and Rodriguez, their streak went before 2000, but still very elite company.
I bet they didn't hit it at a launch angle of 45.5 degrees.
I'm assuming that they are just calculating the velocity of the ball and the angle, and just,
yes,
because there's no one who knows exactly how high it went, but you can make a pretty reasonable estimation based on those numbers.
Well, I've noticed something the last 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons. These big black boxes that they have right there, you see it? Those cropped up a few years ago, and they always put them underneath our booth, and I'm wondering, what the heck is that? That's got to fall. What is that thing? And that's what they're using to measure. They're tracking distances, trajectory, spin rate, exit velocity by that big computer right there. That's how it's all happening.
Hud just sounded smarter than he's ever sounded before.
Can you believe that?
But think about,
look at that right there. That big thing right there, that big old computer. That's how they're doing all that modern technology stuff.
If you're a geometry teacher in high school, or you're teaching physics, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this. And nowadays, these stats are popping up instantaneously too. So, you know, I think some of the old school folks would say, I don't care how high that ball was hit or how hard it was hit. But some of these players are able to determine what they're doing right or not, and adjustments. Some don't want to know those numbers at all. But what we do know, I think Monty put it best, all numbers aside, that ball was headed towards the moon last night, and the moon was in fair territory.
I heard him say that. That was a good line. 0-1 on Escobar with Alex at first base, 2 down. One ball, 1 strike. Esky is hitless in this series. And after a very productive home stand. Hit well to center field. Back goes Davis. Gone to straightaway center. And Escobar adds to his career high. That's 7 home runs on the year. And with 2 outs, the Royals tie the game at 2.
Wow, no way. Esky going straight away, continuing to make those power numbers look even better. 7th home run and 52nd RBI. Oh, yeah. One home run, first 110. All of a sudden, he's either eating right or getting those push-ups and sit-ups in and working. No more warning track power for Eske. 3 more, and he's got double digits.
Paulo hits it well to right field, but righted Geyer. 2 in the inning with 2 outs. Gordon singles. And now Alcides Escobar has hit 2 more home runs this year than any other year. And he's 1 RBI shy of his career high.
He barreled it.
Tie game.
Got him ducked.
Alcides Escobar picks up Jason Vargas with a 2-run home run. So tied at 2 to the bottom of the 2nd. And Brandon Geyer takes strike 1. 7 home runs for Alcides Escobar. 1 RBI shy of his previous career high. Fouled away by Geyer, who was acquired by the Indians to face left-hand pitching.
Yeah, and you know what? If you have good numbers in your career against lefties, play a good outfield, decent athlete like he is, you're going to find a job. They traded for him. In his career off of lefties, 287, 17 homers.
And against a righty on Tuesday night, he won the game. It's to the gap, but it's going to hang up there for Dyson, and he'll get underneath it and make the play. It was Geyer who had the walk-off base hit on Tuesday night. The Indians won it in the bottom of the 9th inning. And here's Coco Crisp, who started his big league career right here in Cleveland. Would you believe it, Hud? 14 years ago. He's had a long career. Out of the Cardinals organization and then traded to the Indians for one of your former teammates, Chuck Finley.
That's right. They got Finley for the playoff run. Finn to win, I used to yell in the clubhouse whenever he was pitching.
1-2. So the pin to win is a knockoff
from
Finn to win.
Right. That's where that came from.
One and 2 on Coco Crisp.
Now Coco, he has more at-bats against Vargas than any other player on the team. 47. This is his 48th plate appearance. He's got 14 hits, a couple homers.
2-2.
He's hitting 286 against lefties. getting a start. And Francona picked him up for his veteran leadership.
It's hit high and deep into the corner. But hooking foul. Coco spent 4 years here and then was traded to the Red Sox. 3 years there, 1 year with the Royals in 2009, but only played in 49 games. He had surgery on both shoulders that year, and then parts of 7 seasons with the A's. Soft liner out to Merrifield and 2 down.
I dropped a. Can you believe when he came in the league? You know, Coco Cavelli.
Covelli is his birth name.
Okay, yep. Coco. I dropped a. And his family's Coco for Coco. You know like the Coco Crisp commercial?
Right.
Yeah, I dropped that a couple times. I thought Fizz was going to fall out of his chair. And he liked it. I went down after the game the next day and I said, hey, I dropped the Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, sir. And he said he's heard that, but he liked it. Been around a long time. He's got a family now. You know, it's interesting when you see these young players come in, and we're fortunate enough to be in the booth as long as their careers, to see them evolve. To see when they're young, in the league, see them continuing to improve and establish themselves as big leaguers.
You see a guy who's just getting a chance as a rookie, and you watch him long enough to now he's the veteran that is traded for a playoff push.
Right.
1-2 on Roberto Perez. Vargas needed 31 pitches to get through the first inning. And he needs just 15 pitches to get through the second. He has struck out 3, and at the end of 2, we are tied at 2.
Yeah, Perez, you got to go. Royals baseball is brought to you by Jeep. Conquer all of the world's most challenging places now during the Jeep Celebration event.
Indians scored 2 in the first. The Royals scored 2 in the second.
I'd just like to face that guy right there. There's a little distraction. That lead arm right there. Throwing about 100 out of that position back in the day. They didn't have a lot of guys that threw that kind of heat. Bob Feller, what a beauty. Miss him. He used to sit in the broadcast booth or in the press box, and he'd be there before the game, you know, sitting by himself. I'd just go over and talk to him and have him tell me stories, and it was so fun to listen to him. Didn't take much to get him going either.
He was one of the many major leaguers that voluntarily walked away from Major League Baseball to serve the country after Pearl Harbor.
That's right.
In World War II.
Ton of respect for him. Those who serve, especially back then, those baseball players who gave up 2-3 years of their playing career. That's a lot. Ted Williams was another one. There was several.
Cuthbert thought that was ball 4.
He wants to stay in there and hit a double anyway. He didn't want the lousy walk. Drive it.
And there's the leadoff walk. You know, the Royals have quite a few young players that really have a good grasp of using the middle of the field and the opposite field. I mean, it used to be that was something that would come later in a player's career. They were more anxious at the plate. They're trying to pull everything. But I mean, Whit Merrifield uses the middle of the field, opposite field. Paulo Orlando, Cheslor Cuthbert. Flow to Gerard Dyson. Makes him a tougher out.
Sure does. And one of the things moving forward would be to see them develop a little more plate discipline. Just like Cuthbert right there. 3-1. That's a hitter's count. You're geared up to swing. Take it if it's not the pitch you're looking for. That's going to help the Royals a lot in the coming future. I mean, they don't want to lose their aggressiveness, but those balls, those base on balls are big.
A reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite.
So Roberto Perez makes his first visit to Clevenger, which is good. It's a perfect time. Walked, leadoff guy. Now he's falling behind on Dyson. He goes out there. This is something that he's continuing to learn. Perez, they're counting on him heavily for the rest of the season and postseason. So you know he feels pretty good about throwing Terrence Gore out last night. I mean, he should, because there's no catcher in baseball has been able to throw him out. Took a perfect throw and a perfect release, and of course Cody Allen was excellent with his time. He's slide step, getting that ball home to him. But I was talking to our Salvador Perez before the game. How does that make a catcher feel when you throw out a guy who's a great base stealer?
Dyson puts down a pretty good bunt. He is safe. The ball got away from Kipnis, but it hit first base umpire Scott Berry, so that kept the ball from rolling farther away and perhaps prevented Cuthbert from going to third.
It did. Too bad. But you know, that is perfect. Man, bottle that up. That's what Gerard Dyson needs to do a lot more of. See, when he brings that first baseman in, he's going to beat any second baseman to the bag. And look at it hit the umpire. That ball would have went in the outfield and certainly would have got Cuthbert to third base. But the umpire's in play, so it's part of the game. But perfect technique. Great job. Fourth bunt base hit of the season for Gerard Dyson. And he's getting in there, getting more playing time. He's choking up on the bat. And believe me, it's noticed around the league that Dyson's making some adjustments.
The Indians think Merrifield is going to bunt, and he is swinging in on his hands just enough. Coco Crisp does not have a strong arm, and he threw back to second base. So Cuthbert immediately looks at third base coach Mike Jerschele, kind of like a little kid not knowing if they did something wrong or not, and they immediately look at their parents, you know, because Coco realized he didn't have a good shot of throwing out Cuthbert at third, so he threw to second.
I thought he'd be tagging for sure, but you know, they know that Coco doesn't have the greatest throwing arm. He would have been easily walked into third base on that. Coco knew. He thought he'd be tagging, so he threw to second. But he's in scoring position.
tight to Hosmer. He grounded out to first in the first inning.
So Salvador, when I asked Salvador about how you feel when you throw out a guy like that, he said, you know, you feel great. Obviously, the pitcher helps you big time. And then Salvi went on to tell me that when the pitchers are warming up before the game out there, he's had a chance to talk to Roberto Perez. And he's been encouraging him, saying, hey, look, your team's counting on you for the postseason here. He was giving him tips, Salvi was, on attention to detail. He says, as a catcher, you really got to focus. You need to come an hour and a half early before everybody else does. You need to go over film, watch your bullpen, your guys. You need to talk to the bullpen guys, talk to them about holding runners. There's so many things that's important to become a world champion catcher. And I was impressed that Salvi would try to pass some things on to him. And even though they're blessed to have Sandy Alomar Jr. as a first base coach and with the Cleveland Indians, and, you know, he's a guy who's been to the World Series before. It's always nice to hear from a guy like Salvi who's just been there and done it. Attention to detail, the little things that turn into big things.
Got underneath it. So the last two Royals hitters, I'll bet, in their minds, Merrifield and Hosmer, when they unloaded, they thought they had a fat pitch to drive to the outfield and just didn't quite get it on the sweet part of the bat.
Yeah, just a tad under.
So 2 on, nobody out. Has turned into 2 on and 2 out. And here's Morales, who grounded sharply to the shortstop Lindor, who was on the right side of second base. Now he's over on the left side. Inside, ball 1. So no overshift this time. Lindor was a good 15-20 feet to the right of second base when Morales grounded out in the second inning. He has more shifts against him, I think, than any hitter in the Royals lineup. I mean, it's different with every team. It seems to be different every time he comes to the plate. Clevenger, after allowing a leadoff walk and then a bunt single, gets the next 3 on flyouts, and the Royals strand 2.
Global greater coverage of baseball takes a look at a rookie that seemingly homers every single night. He was called up on May 13th, went back to the minors, came back August 3rd, and now has 19 home runs. Gary Sanchez, 2 homers yesterday. He's homered in 4 straight games. 19 homers on the year in just 166 at bats, and as we see, fastest to 19 homers in Major League Baseball hit history, and he is homering on a regular basis. We didn't see that guy because he hit just 200 in his series at Kauffman Stadium with no homers, just one double and nothing else. So everybody else has seen that, not the Royals.
Yeah, Royals pitched him well. But you know, you mentioned that he's the first one ever to do that. That's probably going to attract a lot of attention when it comes to the Rookie of the Year voting. He has a good shot at it. Not just what he's doing with the bat, but he's thrown out 8 of 16 runners. So he's a wonderful looking catcher as well.
Merrifield takes care of Rajai Davis. 1 out in the 3rd inning. 49 pitches for Vargas. And now Jason Kipnis homered on a pitch that was down and out of the strike zone. I mean, he literally golfed it into the right field bleachers. And he has really improved this year against left-hand pitching. Curveball hangs a little bit high.
Sure is something special when you can start lifting pitches like that. A lot of guys are going to roll that over, stay on the top of it, and they're going to roll it over, a little ground ball to the second baseman. When you start lifting pitches that are pitchers' pitches, it makes you even more dangerous. You put that in your memory bank, and when you recognize that spot again, you go down and lift it. So important for that bottom hand, but also the back leg has to bend and get you down, leverage your swing.
Three and one. Full count. Kipnis turns and asks Paul Emmel about the location of that pitch.
Well, Santana might want to take a little page out of that little protection right there. It's covering the top of that foot with a pad. That's what he's missing. Stayed in the game, knocked in a run, hit a double.
Popped up. 2 down. 2 infield pop-ups for Jason Vargas in the 3rd inning. Come enjoy our last Buck Night of the season, and you can save some money by enjoying delicious hot dogs and peanuts. That'll be the Royals and the Twins coming up on Thursday. Get your tickets at 1-800-6-ROYALS or online at royals.com/promotions. Only 9 games left after tonight. 3 in Detroit and then 6 at home against Minnesota and these Indians. Lindor walked, stole a base, and scored the Indians' 2nd run in the 1st inning. Way out in front of a changeup, 0-2.
Vargas does a great job selling that pitch with his arm speed. Same arm speed as his fastball. So why not throw it again?
He has struck out 4. He has thrown 58 pitches. So will he be able to talk his way into another inning? We'll see. At the end of 3, we're tied at 2.
I was energized by being in that place. No wonder they say Cleveland rocks. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was a great stop, and I can't believe this is the first time I've been coming through here for years. And I just decided I was going to walk over there and check it out, and it was really fulfilling. And the power of music is amazing.
And Cleveland claims to be the birthplace of rock and roll because it was a Cleveland disc jockey back in 1951 who first referred to that style of music as rock and roll. So maybe the music wasn't invented here, but the term was invented here, and I've been there too. It's great.
Had Michael Jackson's glove in there I took a picture of. And you know, the artifacts were interesting, but for me they had theaters in each level. They had like 6 levels, and there's theaters in there, and you could sit in there, and they would, each one had their own little historical stuff. I loved the American Bandstand with Dick Clark. They showed him way back in like the 40s or 50s when he started all the way through with, and he showed all those bands he had on his show. Very interesting. It just took you away. It was a great escape from the real world.
Cleveland gets a bad rap, you know, known as the mistake by the lake, and refers to the old stadium, but it's a very convenient downtown. You know, the ballpark is right downtown. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is very close. It wouldn't be a bad destination. Deep left field, off the wall, and Salvador Perez just missed another home run in this series. He'll settle for a leadoff double.
And he hit that off the end of his bat. The ball was away. Now, if he barrels it, that's out of here. But it hit high enough on the wall for Salvi to get his 28th double on the year.
Royals had a scoring opportunity last inning. They had 2 on, nobody out. Clevenger pitched out of it. Inside to Alex with 2 outs in the second inning. Alex singled, and then Alcides Escobar hit a home run to straightaway center field. One and one.
Right idea. Trying to get him over there. Pull it to the right side. Find a hole. Get a base hit. Or take him deep. We've seen Alex go way deep here before. You see him? He just took a little peek over there to the right side. See where they're playing him.
One and two.
Let's see what opponents have they've been doing against Clevenger. There it is. Oh yeah. See, I mentioned that before the game about when he gets that 76th pitch, they've been wearing him out. Royals second time through.
Lays off the high fastball. Strike three. Alex didn't like it. That's the second strikeout for Clevenger.
Yeah, now he wanted that away, and it was. That's off the plate. I don't blame Alex. You know, wow, I'm surprised he didn't say more, but you know what? He understands.
It's not his style.
Right. That'll chap you. You know, we see a lot of guys. We saw Escobar get tossed the second time after they made a bad call on him. It was at second. So we'll see what Alex is like his next time up.
Down the middle for a strike. Escobar gave us our Dodge drive of the game in the second inning.
Exact same spot that he just took that fastball on. Picking up Vargas. 2-run shot, his 7th. Beauty. The gentleman in the wheelchair had to do a little bit of maneuvering to get out of the way of that one.
1-1. Six of those home runs have been hit since August 1st. From opening day through the end of July, Escobar hit 1 home run. And now he's hit 6 in the last month and a half.
He's got a little salary drive going. That's what players call that. A good finish. Good strong finish. That's what the Royals are doing. I mean, they've been competing. 2 one-run losses the first 2 games of this series.
Changeup. He's had a good one tonight.
Yeah, it's working. That's out of the zone. It's exactly where he wants it. You can see where he's missed on Esky everywhere out of that box. That's the pitcher's idea, is to command his stuff out of the middle of the plate.
Fastball was up. Perez is a little concerned.
Last inning, when Perez went out there with runner on first and second, nobody out, he talked him into working his way through that inning, not giving up a run.
Full count. And they'll talk it over again. Paulo Orlando's on deck. The 2016 postseason begins on October 4th. Unforgettable games, undeniable greatness, and unstoppable drama. Go to MLB.com/postseason for a full schedule. And these Cleveland Indians are bearing down on a Central Division title. Last time they did that was 2007. Their magic number is still at 5 as Detroit won the first game of a doubleheader in Minnesota earlier today. Another strikeout. And Clevenger pitched well with men on base. Remember, the Royals had 2 on and nobody out last inning. Clevenger got out of it. And in this inning, a leadoff double and now back-to-back strikeouts.
Just a little bit too aggressive was Esky.
And up comes Paulo Orlando. He's done a good job this year hitting with 2 outs. Trying to get Perez home from second base. Try and tie him up inside, and he misses inside. Salvi just missed a home run, hit it high off the wall in left center field. And Clevenger has struck out Gordon and Escobar. Paulo lined out to right his first time up. Slider is outside. 2-0. He's got a good changeup this inning.
I'd be surprised to see him throw it again. Throw it 2-0. He'll throw it 2-1.
Surprised him with a fastball. Paulo shakes his head. Paul Emmel keeping a close eye on Paulo.
Man,
it's way inside.
What the heck?
Still alive.
It's tough enough to hit when you're competing against the umpire too. That makes it even more difficult.
Royals have already had 5 at-bats with the runner in scoring position. So this is number 6. Still 2-2. Paulo not being critical, but a little late on those last 2 fastballs, and I guess you have to be as a hitter if Clevenger's got the changeup like he has this inning, right? I mean, you can't just go up there unloading on a fastball.
No, that's a 2-strike approach. Just got to be able to stay short with the swing, and anything close, try to find a hole, drive in south.
On the ground left side, and Ramirez in time. Paulo made it close with his hustle, and the Royals waste a Salvador Perez leadoff double. University of Kansas hospital injury report. Former Royal Johnny Cueto's having a good year in his first year with the Giants, but he's going to miss his next start. A strained groin. Injured that in his previous start. And in the same game, Giants shortstop Brandon Crawford injured a finger. Giants are hanging in there for the wild card position. 6 games back of the Dodgers in the West. They are hanging by a thread. And the Mets are still in there despite all of the losses to their pitching staff. They've lost David Wright. They've lost Neil Walker.
They're finding a way to get it done. Just like the Cardinals did last year with all their injuries, they made it.
Script foul by Napoli as Vargas begins the 4th inning. Dylan G is ready to go. 60 pitches, and both Ned Yost and Dave Island said that Vargas would be somewhere between 60 and 70 pitches, depending on how he's throwing. He gave up 2 runs in the 1st inning, but he has set down the last 7 Indians, and he's 1-2 on Napoli, whom he struck out with a changeup in the 1st inning. Vargas has struck out 4 tonight. Still 1-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. Whoa, both ways.
God, see that? See now, look, they got his attention. Home plate umpire's attention. Watch him as he looks over to the Royals dugout because they're barking at him.
Should be. Chopped out to Escobar. Gets a nice big hop. 1 out in the 4th. Monty, what do you see from Vargas tonight?
Well, I see a guy that's going out there really kind of making some adjustments on the fly, doing exactly what you would expect. Second time out there. I think maybe a little bit like spring training, trying to get your feel for your pitches, trying to get a feel for your mechanics and rhythm. But more importantly, he's repeating his delivery nicely, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, and he pitched really well in his rehab starts with the important statistics, and that is throwing strikes. We're talking about how Vargas is a veteran and knows he's on the team. Probably treated his injury rehab like a spring training appearance, you know, just working on his mechanics and throwing strikes. If he gets hitters out, great, but you know, mechanics and throwing strikes are objective number 1. He had, in his 6 rehab starts, he struck out 27 and walked 1. About that for a strikeout to walk ratio.
Yeah, I think his stuff looks really good. It looks normal to me, guys, for what we're used to seeing from Jason Vargas. His curveball's got that nice downhill tilt to it. He's pitching both sides of play with the changeup, which is a little unusual, but he does it very effectively. And as we know, he's really a ground ball machine when he's on.
Believe it. I think he looks as good as he looked against the White Sox. Eski helped him out a lot with a 2-run homer.
He also looks trimmed down compared to last year. Does he not?
Oh yeah, he's lost 10 pounds.
That's it?
That's what he told me. Now, the midges are out again. The little gnats that fly around here, and it's kind of bothering Vargas a little bit. He's kind of waving them off of his hat. Told you that breaking ball, man. That's a big pitch for him. It's working. Nice job.
So he gives up 2 in the 1st inning. And then he finishes by retiring 10 in a row.
Way to go. Margie, finished strong, bud.
Ready for a great deal on a new Ford? Then it's time to go to Thoroughbred Ford. Jason Vargas, very similar his 2 starts. Start number 1, he gave up a run in the first, then retired 8 of the last 9. Tonight, he gave up 2 in the first and set down the last 10.
Too bad he couldn't keep going. But you know, it just takes time to build up that arm strength to eat up the innings. And that's what they did with Danny Duffy early when they took him out of that bullpen. You know, they eased him along.
1-1 on Cuthbert. He walked leading off the 3rd inning. And here he is leading off the 5th. Two balls, 1 strike. Royals had 2 on, nobody out in the 3rd. Clevenger got 3 fly balls to get out of that. And then the Royals got a leadoff double in the 4th. And Clevenger got out of that with 2 strikeouts and a ground out. And that's pulled into the Indians dugout. 2-2. Full count. Dan Otero warms up in the Indians bullpen. Here's pitch number 73 from Clevenger. And he walks Cuthbert to lead off an inning again.
Hey, Royals fans, join some of your favorite Royals players and my partner Ryan Lefevre next Monday at the Kansas Sampler in Lenexa for an autograph session to help purchase new baseball gloves and other equipment for underprivileged youth. Royals players, alumni, and coaches will join Rhino to sign autographs for fans who donate a minimum of $25 to the cause. Visit Royals.com/gloves for kids for more information. We'll see you out there. Look forward to it.
Davis fades back in center field and gets Dyson. Gerard is 1 for 3. I have an updated list of names.
Okay.
Number 1, Rex Hudler will be there.
Wow.
So
now
bring all your sexy Rexy signs.
we're trying to promote it so people will come. Don't tell Sam I'm coming. They won't show up.
That young man right there will be joining us with Merrifield. Try and get some of the younger guys out there to mingle with Royals fans. Witt will be there. Paulo Orlando, Matt Strom, Hunter Dozier, Drew Butera, Ned Yost, Alec Mills, Kevin McCarthy, all glad to come out and mingle with the fans.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's an hour from 5:30 to 6:30, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, be fun.
Thank you for coming.
Oh man, I wouldn't miss it. Thanks for inviting me, and it's a great cause. It's really fun to see the faces on those young youth players that don't have any gloves, and to give them, it's all new stuff pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow, it's pretty good. Gloves aren't, they're not cheap.
You know, the neat part about it too is, you know, from the beginning we always wanted to give the kids a good glove, one that wasn't going to fall apart after a year or two. So, you know, now we've been raising funds for other baseball equipment because most of the kids already have gloves.
Okay,
and that was the goal from the beginning.
Good job.
Cuthbert takes off, and he's in with a stolen base. That is number 2 for Chesler. So
Royals,
he has joined the 2-2 club.
Yeah, they're overdue now. I told you, 76+ pitches. The rest of the league's been mopping up on him, and hopefully this is the time that they can get Clevenger. Royals have left several stranded base runners early in this one already, especially in scoring position. Time to get that big hit, Witt.
be out of play. For 6 tonight. The runner at second and or third. Some of that is the Royals, but I'll give Clevenger some credit tonight. He's come up with some big changeups in hitters counts.
Yes, indeed.
The Royals aren't up there swinging wildly. Clevenger's has made his best pitches with runners in scoring position. Merrifield strikes out. That's 4 strikeouts for Clevenger, 3 of which with his changeup.
Okay, now he's setting that up with a high fastball, though. That's, he got Whitley to swing at that high fastball, and then pulls out the changeup down low. So this, the way they set hitters up, sometimes is important for hitters to understand. Instead of just going out there looking for a certain pitch, you got to think along with that pitcher and catcher at times. There's Mickey Callaway.
Vote for the Royals Player of the Month at one of the 7 Rally House locations in the KC metro area. All participants will be entered to win a majestic prize pack. Hosmer is grounded to first and flied to center. Santana backhands. Goes back to the bag. So the second time Hosmer is grounded out to first. And the Royals have stranded 4 in the last 3 innings.
City area Chevy dealers. Visit us for great prices on the all-new 2016 Malibu. By Panera Bread, food as it should be, with 24 Kansas City metro locations. And by Academy Sports and Outdoors, right stuff, low price, every single day. Tie game. Bottom of the 5th inning. Royals, they need a breakout inning. But first, it's up to Dylan G to hold him down, just like Vargas has been doing. He's done a good job. He did last time. But Vargas pitched against the White Sox. He came in and did a nice job.
Chevy called to the bullpen, and Dylan G. This was his spot in the rotation. And the Royals decided to put Vargas back in there, and Lonnie Chisenhall, batting for Brandon Guyer, hit a bullet to the Royals dugout. And it's a good thing that the Royals had that railing and that netting because there was no time to react at all.
Talked about, you know, Dillon taking over for Vargas against the White Sox last Saturday. He did a heck of a job. Went 4 1/3 innings, gave up just 5 hits and 1 run. Ran his record to 3-0 as a reliever. So if he can give Ned that kind of outing right there, I think he'd be thrilled. Hold these guys down. 4 pitches he'll use his fastball, slider, curve, and a change.
Still 1-2. Every team needs a Dillon G.
Indeed.
Someone who can start, fill in as a starter, someone who can be used in long relief, someone who was a starter as he was for a stretch, and the Royals put Vargas in his place only because Vargas is not used to coming out of the bullpen. Dillon G is, so he's able to make that adjustment. Very similar to the role that Chris Young had last year for the Royals. Just a jack of all trades, whatever the manager needs, doesn't complain. Nicked him on the leg. Chisenhall down, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Is at first to lead off the bottom of the 5th.
Just got him on the quad.
Challenge this? Yes, they are. They're going to challenge whether Chisenhall was hit by a pitch. It sure sounded like it. It sounded like there was some contact before the ball hit Salvador Perez's glove. Don Wakamatsu gets on the bat phone.
That's right. I couldn't tell whether it hit him or not. I didn't see any movement in his pant leg.
I thought I heard it.
Yep. Did catch some of Salvi's gear.
See if you hear a click before the ball hits Salvador Perez's glove. So the call will stand, and the call confirmed rather, and Chisenhall's at first.
Got him. You can hear it.
And Salvi didn't argue. So Chisenhall pinch hits for the guy who's been hit 30 times this year, and he gets hit by a pitch.
How about that?
Change up away on Coco Crisp.
Chisenhall's just his 3rd time he's been hit.
Yep. See the pant leg move. Another changeup. Coco Crisp hit a soft liner to second in the 2nd inning. We're talking about his name and how it became Coco. Full name Covelli. His grandmother called him Co as a nickname, so it quickly became Coco. His father was a boxer, First name Loyce, L-O-Y-C-E, and his nickname was Sugar. So you had Cocoa Crisp and Sugar Crisp in the same family.
There you go.
Cereal, anybody?
That's right. Now, one thing hasn't changed about him on all these years is that top hand. Watch those fingers. It's like he's playing the flute. He's always done that. And the top finger's just moving. That's helping. That's probably a reminder for him to keep that top hand loose. See how that bat just lays in his palm. He's not even gripping it with his top hand.
2-2. Pulled foul.
Well, it's fortunate that ball hung up, but he took enough speed off of it that Coco couldn't keep it fair. Just keep that ball down. Put him in the lane. Roll up a pair.
At the end of the bat, Dyson's first step was back, and now it drops in front of him. So a hit batter and a bloop single to center, and the Indians have 2 on and nobody out.
Tough read for Gerard, and by the time he did pick up the spin, it was too late. And he started back. You see that? And that's a tendency any outfielder has on a ball hit there. Just unfortunate read.
So Roberto Perez, who struck out looking against Vargas first time up, is hitting .314 with a runner in scoring position compared to his overall batting average, which was .176. And he's singing along to his walk-up song.
He is.
That'll get you in the spirit, huh?
He's got every word down. I'll bet he's bunting. Royals think so. Haas is in. Cuthbert's in. That's a situation for it. Move those runners.
He's got 4 sacrifice bunts, and he whiffed on that one. 0-1.
Did they have walk-up songs at the University of Minnesota?
They did.
What was yours? Don't tell. It was a boy band.
Of course it was.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Throw to third. Back to first. Double play.
Heads up by Salvi. A lot of traffic. Getting out of the box. Salvi having to make sure he tried to keep that ball in fair territory before he picked it up. Nice heads up play. Look out. Perez had a hard time getting there. One Perez to the other. And Salvi quick. And look at Escobar. That ball was probably thrown both ways at 90. Salvi trying to get him out of the way. Look at that quick heads up play. Escobar over there in a heartbeat. Got him by his step. Way to pick up Dylan G.
And the Indians, Perez got caught being a spectator. Yeah, he almost got tangled up with Salvi, like you said. In his first 5 or 6 steps, he was watching what was happening at third. And by the time he realized he needed to hustle to first, it was too late. Now up and away to Rajai Davis, who is 0 for 2.
That was a double play you don't see very often.
2-5-3. Cuthbert over to first in time. It was Escobar covering over at third base. So 2-6-3 make it. Big play, Salvador Perez. And only 4 come to the plate for the Indians in the 5th. Pinch hitting for Geyer. And Dan Otero is out of the Indians bullpen. So Mike Clevenger goes 5 innings, gives up 2 runs, 4 hits.
Look at that ERA, sparkling, 1.57. Otero's one of their guys.
Kendrys Morales leads off our Sonic Slam inning. Our contestant is Janie Zimmerman from Blue Springs. If the Royals hit a home run out of the park in this inning, Janie wins $400. If the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Janie wins $25 grand from Sonic and the Royals.
When I said he's one of their guys, I mean he's one of their top 4 relievers that they'll be using in postseason. He'll be one of the first they call on. He's like their 6th inning guy, 7th inning, just depending on the situation, how high leverage it is. Doesn't have the velocity that Clevenger had. He'll go 86 to 92 with a sinking fastball, slider, and some occasional changeups.
And 2 on Morales. By the way, that play the Royals made on the bunt by Perez, I said 2-5-3. I got one of the numbers right.
Hey, look, you never make mistakes.
Well, I don't know about never.
What's wrong with you tonight?
Yeah, I don't know. So then I corrected myself because Escobar was covering at third, and I said 2-6-3, right? But Merrifield was covering at first, so it's 2-6-4.
Well, how many people keep score at home?
A lot.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. But I bet the people who are keeping score, they wrote down 2-6-4 before I even uttered 2-5-3.
Yeah.
I was just checking to make sure that they were paying attention.
That's right.
Over the mound, and that's the second time that Kendrys grounds out to the shortstop Lindor over on the right side of second base. And there's one away. Salvador Perez comes up, and we go back to Joel.
Well, we see both Perez's at the plate, and both Perez's have now made great plays in this series. Salvi last inning, Roberto last night doing something no catcher had ever done in a big league regular season game, throwing out Terrence Gore. Talked to Terrence about that today, who had been perfect in his career during the regular season. And while Ned said he didn't get the greatest of jumps last night, Terrence said, no, it was a bad jump. He said, I thought I was reading everything the right way. I saw what I wanted to see. I just was off a little bit in my reaction. He said that happens sometimes. Happened to him a little bit in the minors. He didn't love his jump that he got the other day against Ryan Madson, but he was able to cover for it, and the situation still worked out. So you didn't necessarily know that he got a bad jump because he was still safe. He said it could be like a slump that even hitters get into. Every now and then, you just don't know why, but you're not quite reading it right. He said if he could do it again, he would have been a little bit quicker, maybe his body not quite as stiff. He said, but he's going to go every time in that situation. He said it's baseball, though. It'll humble you quickly.
Better believe it, Joel, but for him, he's going to be a little more critical of himself because that's the only way he can help the team. You can't go out there, or he hasn't been put out there to play defense or hit. So, you know, I respect that opinion of himself, but look, you got to credit Cody Allen, the pitcher. He was good. He was having long holds, making it tough on him, and then Perez, Roberto Perez. Gosh, Salvi's got some bad luck tonight. Roberto Perez, he put that ball right on the base. It was a perfect throw. And, you know, we've talked about that. When Gore comes in, it takes a perfect execution by the pitcher and catcher to get him. And if you're not, which most guys aren't, you're not going to get him. So that Terrence Gore, man, he can turn a game around, man. He's a game changer. And we'll see him in there tonight.
If that's a bad jump by him,
yeah,
Royals are in pretty good shape.
He didn't look like
because it still took a perfect throw.
Right, but does it make sense that he's a little more critical of himself because that's
it.
Yeah,
it's kind of like being the designated hitter. You know, I mean, you don't come through in two critical spots at the plate. That's all you can do to help your team.
Yeah, so he can go easy on himself.
Dan Otero's place in recent Royals history.
I believe that he was a pitcher for the Oakland A's in that wild card game, if I'm not mistaken. And he took the loss.
There you go.
Wow. Well,
Salvi's hit was against Jason Hamill, but Otero took the loss. It was his runs that scored.
It's one of the greatest baseball games I've ever seen.
Lorenzo Cain grounded out to first. Eric Hosmer tripled. Remember, almost hit a home run. And then Colon hit the little nubber up the third base side that scored Hosmer to tie it, and the pitching change. So 20 years from now, 25 years from now, heck, 5 years from now, you want to go back and look at that box score, that pivotal game in Royals history. And the losing pitcher for the Oakland A's was Dan Otero. Two and two on Alex.
Well, this year, if everything continues to go the Indians' way, I mean, they'll get into the playoffs and they won't have to have a one-game playoff. They'll have 5 games in the first round.
Good take. Right now, the Indians would be home against the Red Sox, or would have at least home field advantage against the Red Sox. And Texas would be playing the winner of the wild card game. Cleveland has a 1/2 game lead over the Red Sox for second best record. 3 up, 3 down against Otero to the bottom of the 6th in a 2-2 tie. 6th inning. Cleveland scored their 2 runs in the first on a Kipnis home run and a Santana double. The Royals got their 2 on an Alcides Escobar home run to center field.
You recognize those people sitting there? The couple. That's the girl who sang the anthem, and the gentleman to her left proposed to her right after she sang the anthem.
That's right.
I've never seen that before.
She's changed her outfit since she sang the anthem. I recognize her right away. You never know what you're going to get with an in-stadium proposal, or any proposal for that matter. Sarah asked me, is this a joke?
That's the couple right there.
What did Jennifer say to you when you asked?
She said nothing.
I got, is this a joke?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's worse. I don't know what's worse. Silence sometimes tells you a lot more.
Yeah, she in opera fashion, that young lady performed the national anthem. But they're always different. That was the first time, you know, usually the gal gets embarrassed and, you know, she's shocked and she puts her hands over her face and she doesn't know what to say, and she's just so excited. This gal, she grabbed the box, immediately grabbed the ring out of the box and put it right on her finger.
Yeah, and then she put a lip lock on him like I haven't seen in a while.
Proving once again,
she can't have fun with the old ball player.
Oh boy. Kipnis homered in the first inning, grounded out, or rather popped out to first in the third. Did that hit him or the bat?
Sounded like it hit him, and looks like from the reaction it did.
Yep.
Wrist. Not a good spot.
It's the second straight inning where Dylan G has hit the leadoff man. Francisco Lindor. He walked, stole a base, and scored in the first inning, and then struck out in the third. 0 for 8 in this series. Breaking ball drops in for a strike. In 25 career games against the Royals, Francisco Lindor has 25 RBIs. Outside, 2-1. Last inning, Dylan G hit Lonnie Chisenhall and then Crisp singled. And the Indians had 2 on, nobody out. Perez put down a bunt and the Royals turned it into a double play. Davis grounded out and G was out of it. And now a hit batter in this inning, and 3 balls and 1 strike on Lindor, who is a struggling hitter at the moment. And yet at some point he's going to break out of it. Let's hope it's not right here. Now Salvi and Dylan G are going to think long and hard about what to go with here. Kipnis is not running, and that's ball 4. So 2 on and nobody out.
Just like we promised you earlier in the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. All right, there they are.
You know,
okay, now
watch how quickly she wants this ring.
All right, and she just sang a beautiful anthem, operatic style. Cameraman's in our way.
Okay, you got to cover your, always got to cover your mouth. She says yes right away. Now give me the ring. Open it up. Look at how quickly she got that on her finger.
Shows it off.
Shows it off. How about give him a hug?
And well, gotta say hi and wave to the parents first.
No, you don't.
Well, he thought he did. That'll help.
Infield fly rule. You don't have to wave to the parents right away. That ring officially means you don't have to wave to the parents anymore.
She doesn't look disappointed.
Smile for the camera, and then she's like, oh, wait a minute.
Oh, I forgot something.
And then tonsil hockey.
Hello. Way to go, buddy.
Big out with the pop out to Napoli, and now Santana. He drove in a run with a double in the first inning. It's pulled foul. Terry Francona moving Carlos Santana down in the order. He's been using him quite a bit as his leadoff man. And it's worked well. In game 1, he homered. In game 2, he had 4 hits, an RBI, and a run scored. Batting 5th tonight, he's doubled in a run and bats with 2 on and 1 out. Hit well to right field, and that is in the seats. 34 home runs for Carlos Santana, and that one is worth 3.
.86, and it just kind of floated up there, and he's on it.
Now breaking ball inside to Jose Ramirez. Broken bat, and there are 2 down. Now, not just the home run, but the 2 free runners before the home run. A hit batter, and then the walk to Lindor.
That's always what they look back on.
Flynn warms up in the right field bullpen. Chisenhall was hit leading off the 5th inning. One ball, 1 strike. Two on Chisenhall. Indians have more runs than hits tonight. 5 runs, 4 hits. 3 runs that scored did not reach by way of a hit. 2 walks and a hit batter turned into runs. Escobar is out. Dyson is in, and that's the inning. Damage done. Carlos Santana, man, he's had a huge series. He has driven in 4 tonight and 6 in the series. Lineup, 2 home runs, 6 driven in this 3-game series. And he puts the Indians in front 5-2. A Northtown Mazda game break. This is Brian Dozier, and this is home run number 40. That number 40 as a second baseman, that is. And that is an American League record, passing Alfonso Soriano. The major league record for a second baseman is 42. So he's got a very good chance of passing that. We'll see Dozier during the final homestand.
He's got a pretty good chance of passing that record.
He also has a 24-game hitting streak.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Alcides Escobar hit a home run to straightaway center field in the second inning. That tied the game at 2. Just outside from Otero. He took over in the 6th for Mike Clevenger. And had a 1-2-3 inning. It'll be Escobar, Orlando, and Cuthbert here in the 7th. Late on a fastball. Second strikeout for Otero.
For the Royals, right fielder, Paulo Orlando.
We talked sometimes about a hitter putting a fastball swing on a changeup. That looked like a changeup swing on a fastball. Like Esky was sitting on something off speed and trying to shoot it to right field.
Yep. Got caught guessing. That happens.
And Paulo misses a slow curve. Paulo line to right in the second inning. Rounded out to third in the 4th. One and one. Base hit right field.
Royals fans, many kids in our community can't play baseball because they can't afford equipment. You can help by donating new and used equipment during the Royals Equipment Drive next Thursday. When the gates open, donated equipment will benefit Alta Vista High School, serving low-income kids in the greater Kansas City community.
And for a strike to Cuthbert, who's walked twice.
You know, with gloves for kids and that the donation of people
Equipment drive.
Yeah, that next week's going to be good for taking care of the youth, so they can play our grand game.
Yep, and you can support both. The equipment drive is unique in that, as you brought up, you know, you got some old baseball equipment. Go ahead and donate that.
Oh, that's up the shin. Left shin.
Still 0-2. Cuthbert's still hurting after that swing and that follow through. See the painful expression on his face.
Yeah. I'll stay with you. Didn't affect Santana. He got up after a while and hit a double and hit a big 3-run homer.
Foul tip, but it popped out of Perez's glove. Still no balls, 2 strikes.
Otero, you know, not a guy who's going to overpower you, but really been using a nice combination of sinkers and changeups. Mix in a few sliders. They'd like to stay away from Andrew Miller if they could.
One and two. Watching Cuthbert, and I brought this up last night, a hitter with his practice swing will oftentimes reveal what he's trying to do. Cuthbert takes his practice swing in between pitches with just his top hand. And he really does a good job of getting on top of the ball. Lindor, while slipping, still throws a strike to Kipnis. And then Santana helps out Kipnis on a throw in the dirt.
All right, that's one heck of an adjustment there. You lose both feet and still can make a perfect throw. Wow, they're going good.
Our sprint trivia question. Hall of Famer Mike Piazza has a major league record 11 seasons of 20+ home runs as a catcher. Who is second?
Well, they dropped the question on us pretty late in the game. We don't have a long time now.
11 of 20+. Who is second? Nice try.
It's not Alomar.
He didn't have 10 or 9,
so.
does he? What about Johnny Bench?
Yeah. Ivan Rodriguez.
Coco Crisp is 1 for 2. 3-0. It's been a tough couple innings for Dylan G. He hit the first batter in the 5th, and then he hit the first batter in the 6th. And now a leadoff walk in the 7th. Indians scored 3 runs in the 6th inning on 1 hit. They got base runners with a hit batter and a walk, and then Santana hit a 3-run home run. And in the 1st inning, the Indians turned a walk into a run. So the Indians have 5 runs on 4 hits. Alberto Perez is 0 for 2. This time he gets the bunt down. He bunted, Perez did, with 2 on and nobody out in the 5th inning, and the Royals turn that into a double play. This time he gets the job done. That's his 5th sacrifice bunt of the year. And Crisp is at second with 1 out. Top of the order, and Rajay Davis 0 for 3. Out to Hosmer. A lot of side spin on that ball. Hosmer takes it himself, and it's a close play, but out. And Crisp goes to third.
Cheer on longtime Royals Alex Gordon for the last Gordo Nation of the season. In this fan section, for only $35, you can get a seat in left field, a limited edition Charlie Hustle brand t-shirt, and an Alex Gordon big head. Join your fellow fans for this fun experience supporting Gordo. You don't want to miss out on it, so be sure to visit Royals.com/theme tickets. Gordo appreciated.
Against the Indians. So a lot of baseball, as we remember in the past, left in this final week and a half, if you're really in that race, where so many things could happen on an every night basis. And you take a look at those wild card standings right now, and just a lot of action alone happening with Detroit. Second half of a doubleheader going on right now as they're leading Minnesota in that one, having won earlier today.
Thank you, Joel. 1-1 from Brian Flynn to Jason Kipnis. Flynn took the loss in game 1 on Tuesday night. Brandon Guyer hit the double off of Joakim Soria to end the game, but the run that scored was charged to Flynn. 1-2.
He's doing a nice job. League's only hitting 190 off. He's had a good season. Fastball, slider, occasional changeup. That wild card race is going to come down to, who gets hot this last week of the season. Red Sox, they've gotten hot. Can they stay hot? Red Sox have won 7 in a row. 8-2 in their last 10.
And they're leading in the bottom of the 6th inning tonight.
I believe Toronto's going to hold out, get that first wild card spot.
Two on Kipnis. Lindor is on deck. Crisp is at third. He reached with a leadoff walk. Got him. Flynn gets the job done. And we head to the 8th. Royals are down to their last 6 outs on offense and down by 3.
Every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri, so play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. By Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by your Midwest Ford dealers. Visit us at your MidwestFordDealers.com.
5-2 Cleveland. Difference being the 3-run home run from Carlos Santana in the 6th inning. Top of the order coming up for the Royals. Michael Martinez takes over in center field, and Rajai Davis, who was in center, shifts over to left. Brian Shaw is the Indians' new pitcher, with Dyson, Merrifield, and Hosmer coming up. Shaw has appeared in all 3 games of the series. Upstairs to Dyson. Gerard is 1 for 3 with a bunt single.
Hard cutting fastballs. He's 90 to 95 curve and change.
One and one. One and two. Royals have had a bad time with the Indians this year. We know that. They're 5-10 against Cleveland. But I'll tell you what, this team is a handful. They have the lowest ERA in the league, and they've scored the 2nd most runs in the league. They now have the lowest bullpen ERA in the league. Dyson able to hold his swing. 2 balls and 2 strikes. They have the So you add that up, they have the 2nd best run differential in the league. They have outscored their opponents by 108 runs. And they've improved quite a bit defensively over the last 2 years.
They have. There's a reason they're where they are.
One of the good Royals teams the last 2 years, American League Championship teams, pitching, defense, bullpen, just enough offense. This Indians team, pitching, good defense, not great defense like the Royals, but pitching and a lot of offense.
Yeah, can score runs, but pitching becomes the dominant factor in postseason.
And there was a lot of concern here when Carlos Carrasco went down with the injury this past weekend, and Danny Salazar rather hasn't been pitching. But you know, as we learned in the playoffs the last 2 years, if you have a deep and good bullpen, you get 4 or 5 innings out of your starter, and that's enough. That bullpen's always rested. On the ground to Lindor, he's going to have to hurry, and Santana's not able to scoop it, and it's into the camera bay, and Dyson will get second base.
Oh, maybe they'll give Dyson a hit on that. Save an error on Lindor. We're home cooking here. Let's see what the official score. Yeah, they're going to give him a single.
Well, then an error with the throw to get him to second. So runner at second, nobody out. Whit Merrifield comes up. Whit is 0 for 3 so far tonight. All of those at bats were against Indian starter Mike Clevenger, who gave up 2 runs in 5 innings.
That was the 131st infield hit by the Royals this year. That's tied for second in the American League.
Another key to winning in the playoffs, you have to be able to hit good pitching, because that's all you're going to see. Whereas during the regular season, you know, you see a 4th starter, a 5th starter. Over the course of a longer series, you might have to face a couple of mop-up guys out of the bullpen. Not in the playoffs. And while the Royals the last 2 years didn't put up huge numbers offensively, their ability to make contact and avoid strikeouts against good pitching that usually got their outs through strikeouts, that's what gave the opponents fits.
That's right. And we saw what the Mets pitching did to the Cubs. Went right through their offense, and they had Schwarber, Kyle Schwarber.
Yep.
They had him
Chris
in there.
Bryant.
They had all their guys in there that they have this year for the most part. But they were swinging for
Rizzo.
the fences. They went right through them. A lot was learned around the rest of the league by watching the Royals. And there's still a ton of respect for the Royals around, I can tell you. People we see, each team, each organization we go to, they said, man, what a run you guys went on. You lost a couple of key players this year. One postseason is an extra taxing month of the season. All those stressful innings you got to pitch, you know, your bullpen, but 2 in a row. That's why you don't see many teams go to 3 in a row, 2 in a row. It's hard to do physically. It's taxing.
Full count on Whit.
Now, you can expect a fastball here, but it's not straight.
Broke his bat. We'll get a runner to third. Shaw gets to the bag in front of Whit. 1 out in the 8th. NHL hockey is coming to Sprint Center as the Blues face the Capitals in a preseason game. That's on October 5th. Go to stlouisblues.com for more information. The Blues are proud to have Kansas City in the heartland of hockey. And we'll have Blues hockey here on Fox Sports Kansas City again this season, returning in October. Hosmer is 0 for 3 so far tonight. Swung at that breaking ball like he was expecting it. And now no balls, 2 strikes. The Royals are 0 for 9 tonight with runners in scoring position. They began the game 4th in the American League in that category. And they've dropped down 2 points tonight.
RISP is a big statistic. It goes along with the 3 areas that you need consistency in to win. That's pitching, defense, and timely hits.
Fastball struck him out. The Indians have pitched well, and the Royals had 2 on, nobody out in the 3rd. A leadoff double in the 4th. A runner at 2nd with 1 out in the 5th. And they had a runner at 2nd with nobody out in this inning, and now Dyson's at 3rd with 2 down for Morales. Morales is 0 for 3.
Tell you what, Shaw is very difficult to square anything up on him. You can hit, the top of the ball or maybe get under it, but rarely do you get under it because everything he throws is down. His cutter moves. This is firm. He's gonna fluctuate his fastball low to mid 90s. He's changing speeds with that pitch. We're seeing the teeth of their bullpen outside of Andrew Miller.
Yeah, and those last 2 pitches I think really shows what he can do. He throws a cutter for a strike, and he's got the hitter thinking, man, I should swing at that pitch. And then he comes back with a little more tilt out of the strike zone.
I hate to face this guy.
And then gets him to swing out of the strike zone. So he did that with both Hosmer and Morales. So runner at 2nd, nobody out. Shaw works around it to the bottom of the 8th. 5-2 Indians.
Little game summary here. Sixth inning. Carlos Santana off of Dylan G. Hits his 34th. It was a 3-run shot. That was what broke the tie. It was a 2-2 tie. Before that, Escobar tied it up with his 7th homer. So unfortunately, the Royals down to their last 3 outs.
Flynn to Lindor. Flynn with the runner at third and 2 out in the 7th inning came on and struck out Jason Kipnis. It'll be Lindor, Napoli, and Santana. Caught by Escobar, just barely. And if you're wondering what the term snow cone means, there it was.
Nice feel in the glove, no doubt. Lindor going through a nice little slump here. Well, there's nothing nice about a slump, but that doesn't help anything. Oh, man. You know, lots of times you'll land on the ground, that ball will pop out of there, but he's held that glove up, kept it from hitting the ground. Great feel for his glove.
That looked like a swing, and it was. Napoli is 0 for 3. 0 for 11 in the series. A little bit outside, 1-1.
And that's one of the reasons why there's been 1-run victories by the Cleveland Indians, because this guy hasn't hit any homers. He normally is good for 1 or 2 in a series. Him and Lindor haven't been doing much.
Now Lindor is hitless in this series. He's scored a couple of runs tonight after reaching with walks. Up the middle, and Merrifield was shifted over to the left of second base, so he reshifts, and there are 2 outs. Sprint trivia question. Hall of Famer Mike Piazza has a major league record 11 seasons, 20 or more home runs as a catcher. Who is second?
Roberto Alomar? Or Sandy, sorry, Sandy? Alomar Jr.? Lance Parrish?
I'm going to say either Johnny Bench or Javi Lopez.
Ah,
about Javi
good,
Lopez.
Good guess.
1-1 on Santana. You pick.
Are any of the names that we've mentioned the winner? They're all incorrect.
Roy Campanella. Gary Carter. Oh man, we should have had that. He had a long career.
Oh, it's killing me now. Darn it. All right, 1-0.
Question.
1-0, you guys.
Also a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
The Kid. Did you play with him in Montreal?
No, I missed him, but I knew him.
Full count on Santana. Showed you his 3-run home run in the 6th inning. He also had an RBI double in the 1st. He has 6 runs driven in this series, 2 home runs, 7 hits. And he's on with a walk. And I think that's his first walk of this series. Usually known for reaching with walks. He has more than 90 this year. And it is his first walk of the series. Brings up Jose Ramirez. Big swing, and he fouled it away. Looking ahead to the ninth, the Royals have Salvador Perez, Alex Gordon, and Alcides Escobar. Line to deep center field, over Dyson's head and off the wall. Santana will be waved home. And the throw is on the money. Dyson to Escobar to Salvador Perez, and in the end, it wasn't even close. So that keeps the deficit at 3.
Nice kick off the wall to Gerard. Played it just perfectly. That ball was tattered and battered. Yeah, but look at it, hits the base of the wall. It gets right to him, right to Escobar. And you better not go. Out.
Tonight with a 2-run home run. He's also had another exceptional defensive game, and he will bat third in the top of the 9th inning. Northtown Mazda game break. On to Detroit after the game tonight, and Danny Duffy will take the hill tomorrow against rookie right-hander Michael Fulmer. Duffy is 12-2. Fulmer is 10-7. Still has good numbers, but not quite on the roll that he was in the first half of the season. That is tomorrow. Tomorrow, Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon. Royals and Tigers over the weekend. Cody Allen, who saved last night's game, comes on for the 9th inning tonight. Salvador Perez leads off, and off of Lindor's glove. He has time and recovers to throw out Salvi.
Man, he's good. I don't think he's as good as Escobar, but let's keep in mind Escobar has a lot more experience than this young shortstop. But he's good. That one little short hop right there, that is in no man's land. That ball will eat you up in a heartbeat. It almost got by him, but he kept it. Knocked it down, and his bare hand and spin and throw was right on the money with a lot on it. You're not having a lot of time to find the grip. You're just throwing it.
And that's not a short throw.
Oh.
He finally picked that ball up from.
That's a long ways away.
That's what, 120 feet?
At least.
Right, another 30 feet past second base.
Right.
High to Alex. Cody Allen Gave up a home run to Salvador Perez before saving the game last night. Alex walked after the Salvi home run. Then Terrence Gore ran for him and eventually caught stealing for the first time in a regular season game. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Allen's got good stuff, power. Low to mid-90s with a heater and a big overhand sharp curve.
Chopped out to Lindor, who appears to be all over the place defensively tonight. 2 down. Coming up after the game, Boulevard Royals Live with Joel and Monty. To Escobar. He had a 2-run home run to straightaway center back in the 2nd inning against Clevenger. His 7th home run of the year, adding to a new career high. Into right field near the line, and Chisenhall runs it down for the final out. Cleveland Indians sweep the Royals in a 3-game series, and they win 9 of 10 against the Royals at Progressive Field this year. Final score 5-2. We'll be back.